As we get older, we start paying attention to what we put in our bodies. I personally have been listening to my body since I was 18 when I went vegan. I've always been focused on my health. It's super important, mental and physical health. But it's really important for people who are just starting to get more healthy and trying to step up their life. Doing your homework, reading the labels, researching and verifying everything that's quality. It's part of the game these days. That's why I started drinking AG1s. I'm so proud to have them sponsor my podcast. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut support and is backed by multiple research studies. You can trust what you're putting into your body. We're all so busy these days, so just throw a pack of AG1 in the morning into a cup of water and shake it up and drink it. I love the way it tastes. I do it every single morning. It's part of my routine. I bring the packets on tour. It's an incredible life changer for me. Many supplements only reference research from ingredients in their product, but I trust AG1 in my daily routine because it's constantly putting the formula to the test. It's backed by multiple research studies, and one of those research studies, AG1 was shown to have double the amount of healthy bacteria in the gut, which is super important because these help digestion in the immune system and the immune health. And these bacteria are known to help with digestion as well, gas and bloating, which I freaking need. And it also promotes regular bowel movements, what I can attest to. In another research study, 97% participants felt more energy after 30 days, and 91% of the participants noticed that they needed less coffee after 60 days. I quit coffee like 5 months ago. I know I'm good on that. But AG1 is packed with a variety of nutrient-dense ingredients and is the perfect complement to my healthy diet. I drink it because I know it's going to work, and it gives me a peace of mind covering all my nutrition bases for the day. In fact, I trust it so much, that's why I'm spreading the word about it. That's why it sponsors my podcast. Thanks to Angie Huberman for turning me on to AG1s, connecting me with them, and now they're part of my podcast. It's so easy and satisfying to start your day with AG1s. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of the vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your purchase at drinkag1.com/OLLC. That's drinkag1.com/OLLC. It's never been a better time to focus on your health and wellness and get back on track, man. Take control of your daily health. Health is wealth. Got to give a big shout out to Liquid Death. I've been in a band called H2O for 30 years, and my first real job with a company is a water brand. Go figure. Love you, Liquid Death. Love the people. Love the brand, love the concept, love what they give back, love the community, love what they do for the environment. You can go liquiddeath.com/OLLC and get free shipping on any of their merchandise that they make. They have such incredible collabs. Also, if you want to hear the story of the CEO, my good friend Mike Cesario, on the podcast, you can go to episode 115, part 1. And then 2 years later, we dropped a part 2, which is episode 275 with the CEO, Mike Cesario. Just a man from Delaware with a dream, worked at a marketing company and made this become a reality. Liquid Death is an incredible company, incredible water, incredible people. And I'm super, super honored to be part of them. They sponsor my life. They sponsor everything, my family. So go liquiddeath.com/OLLC and get free shipping on anything you want to buy on that site. If you want to get water, it's exclusively on Amazon.com. Murder your thirst, y'all. You guys ready?
Yeah.
We've been ready, Mike, right?
I was born ready, brother.
Okay, welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today, I have on for the 4th time on my podcast, but today he's just my co-host, Mr. Mike Judge. Thank you for being here.
No problem, bro.
Are you nervous?
No.
And then in front of me, we've never really met. I don't think we met. We talked about it earlier because I moved to New York in '88. You were still there, but I lived in the GB house. People know that. But Jules Massey, thank you for being here from Side by Side, Alone in the Crowd. It's crazy because almost like Mike's story, you kind of just disappeared for many, many, many years. Everybody knows, if you listen to this podcast, you know exactly what Mike was up to. But you just kind of like were gone, and then you're back. So welcome back.
well, thank you. I'm very glad to be here. It's been a very long day. I was trying to get here all day.
I know. You came from Florida. I appreciate you, man. But yeah, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Life's good?
Life is good. I could go into my usual spiel, which is that I'm always working and I work too hard, but that's boring. So.
Yeah. Before we get into like your history, like Like, what brought you back playing again?
And we were talking about this a little bit before. Over the years, I've had people like actually call me at work and leave weird voicemails, like quoting side-by-side songs and stuff. Yeah, like over the years, like little things. And, some kid from somewhere, wanting to do a fanzine interview. And I'm like, guy, I'm like with my kids. And basically I kind of shied away from all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And around 2011, one of the guys from the Double Cross webzine, Gordo, reached out to me. And
is that Tim from Mouthpiece?
That's not Tim.
Okay, that's somebody else. Okay.
It was Brian Jordan, who goes by the name Gordo.
Okay.
And, it is Tim's spot, though.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but Tim, they were like partners in that zine.
Yeah.
And he called me and said, we'd really like to do an interview with you because you're like the last one or something like that. Or Mike was the last one. Like one of us was the last one.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. And right when that had happened, the tsunami that knocked out the nuclear power plant in Japan had just hit.
Okay.
And luckily at my wife's work, they were matching any donations that could be made. So what I did was I looked up their webzine, and they did all of, like, I saw that they were doing, like, they were trading T-shirts and auctions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were doing more than just a webzine. And I said, hey, can you do an auction? And they're like, yeah. And I said, I'm going to give you all of my old vinyl.
Wow.
You do that. I'll give you the interview. And then it's all going to go to like the Red Cross or whatever. Yeah. And so I think that was the first time that I'd ever actually like talked to anybody about it.
Yeah.
Look back at any of this shit, that, from back in the day and I'm talking about 2011. So how many years is that?
That's
crazy,
I
can't do math.
Yeah.
So, but I think with the matching stuff, we were able to raise something like $11,000-$12,000.
That's incredible. So all your records.
Every record that I had, which included like some good ones, like the Antidote 7-inch, and
wow.
Did you have a Chung King in there?
I don't have a Chung King. Do you realize that like not just hardcore folks, like that's like one of the rarest records on the planet.
It's like in the top on and the highest sold too.
Which is
it's
just
the thorn in my side, brother.
Why is that?
Because I just hate it so much.
But people love it. Mama, check the AC too, babe. So that was in your collection that you sold, obviously. Yeah.
No.
But but leading up to that, you never even thought about your past. You never thought about that time in your life. You're just adulting. You moved on. You're living your life.
Correct.
Yeah.
My focus was on, first I went to sea. I was on ships for.
Were you in the Marines?
No, I was a merchant.
Okay, merchant. Okay.
Yeah, and they say merchant marine, and
Okay,
people think Marines, but that's
Okay.
not. It's not the Marines.
Interesting.
I was on oil tankers and stuff like that. But
For how many years?
8 or 9 years,
Okay.
something like that. And during that time, I got married. I got 2 kids in the marriage, and then one was my fault. So 3 kids, and of course that's exactly when I say, I think I want to change careers, and the question was, well, what can you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I've been on ships, for my whole adult life.
Yeah.
So I did what everyone else does when they don't know what to do. I went to law school.
Okay. Wow.
And so I bet the farm on law school.
Wow. Did you go to college before that?
I did. I went to the New York Maritime College, which is a merchant marine academy in New York, in the Bronx.
Nice. Are you from New York? You're from Jersey.
Born in Jersey,
Yeah.
Weehawken, and Mike knows
Weehawken,
exactly.
yes.
Mike knows exactly where, because everyone would pass by my house on the way into the city.
Nice.
I would stop. There wasn't a lot of money back then, and a dude gets hungry once in a while. So.
Yeah. All right, so you did that. You did the you raised all the money. You did the interview.
Okay, so we're back to that.
Yeah.
So it did that, and I think it was a success or whatever. But then I didn't think about it again.
Yeah.
And then I was actually on my way. In fact, no, we were on our way back. I was in Newport, Rhode Island, because my son had just graduated officer candidate school. And so I went to his graduation.
Awesome. I used to live in Newport. Great place.
And I get a phone call while I'm in the airport, and it's Lars Weiss from Alone in the Crowd. I think he played with you guys. And he told me about Howie Wallen, who was a guitarist with Alone in the Crowd, was having health issues.
Yeah.
And he was the mouthpiece to say, hey, let's get the band back together.
Yeah.
And how do I say no?
Exactly. Yeah, true.
So that's that. And then we did that one show, and I think that was pretty successful.
Was that the one in Revolution? Was that the European one or no?
That was in Philadelphia at
the
church.
Okay, the church. Great.
That was
spot.
back in 2019.
Oh, okay.
Then COVID hits. Then everyone cocoons back up, or at least I did.
Yeah.
And then so Side by Side's done 2 shows now.
Yeah.
This one that we're going to do Saturday.
Yeah.
Is it? That's it. We're
This
done.
is it.
This is it. It's the trifecta. And
wow. I respect that.
And again, I've just got, I guess it's just something, maybe it's an obsession of mine. I don't know, but it's got to do some good now. Like I don't like just, reliving glory days or whatever. Like it doesn't make any sense to me if it's not going to do some real good now. So what we're doing is we're raising money for the Alex Brown Foundation.
Awesome.
And of course, Alex was in Side by Side, Gorilla Biscuits, and he passed away in 2019, right before we did that February show.
Oh, wow.
And I always wanted to do something for him. And when this idea of doing Side by Side came up, that's so that's it. That's what we're doing. We're raising money and awareness for the Alex Brown Foundation, which is, I guess I should plug it now.
Yes.
Which is a residency for artists, and it's in Des Moines, Iowa, because that's where Alex is from.
Yeah.
And it's a studio, it's a place to live, and a stipend.
That's cool.
And so, you can apply if you're an artist for the residency. If you get it, then you have time to create art, and you don't have to worry about working it, at a bar at night to,
that's awesome,
to keep the lights on.
It's a cool spot too.
Is it? You been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool concept too.
So,
what was it? Did you know the impact of your band, and how did it feel getting on stage for the first time?
Pretty nuts. Well, so that's two questions.
Totally.
So the impact, no clue, not a clue.
Wow.
Neither of my bands, I think Side by Side lasted a year, 13 months, 14 months, something
crazy,
like
man.
that.
It's
right.
Crazy.
And then Alone in a Crowd, even shorter than that. So the fact that anyone even talks about any of this stuff was unknown to me.
Wow.
And now that, after, and I want to say, did podcasts quadruple during the pandemic?
100%.
Yeah. So
100%.
because I didn't even kind of know what a podcast was, right? But now there's podcasts and I'll actually listen to them when I'm doing my evening walks or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're talking about me.
It's crazy. And
and I'm like, I don't know these people.
Yeah. Just the impact, man. It's crazy.
So, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad to hear. It's a good thing.
And all these years later, too, coming back and all the different generations still listening to those bands and finding those bands.
Yeah. Well, that was the best. That was literally the best thing about. So the first of the Side by Side reunion shows was in Holland.
Yeah, that's the one.
And Revolution Calling.
Revolution Calling, yep.
And, it's a big fest. And, I mean, a lot of heavy hitters playing. and these 15-year-old kids opened the festival with like a old school hardcore band, like with construction gloves with X's on them.
Yeah.
And
wow.
the kid comes up with his dad, and they basically are like, we are big side-by-side fans. Like, so a 15-year-old kid and his dad are in a band together. They open the fest.
It's so cool.
And I got to hang out with those guys. And that was literally the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, how cool is that? I was 15 when I started side by side. So like, here these kids are doing it now. I mean, I can't think of anything better than that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if someone writes a book and like, talks about the history and like the style of, you know, hardcore or whatever. Those 15-year-old kids like doing that stuff was
all worth
that,
it. Yeah.
that was the best testament to anything I've ever done.
Yeah. And was that probably one of the biggest shows you ever played?
Easily. by orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
I've never even been in a room that big.
Yeah. It's crazy because when you came back, at first Breakdown was going to play last. And I remember hearing a story that you said, why are we playing before Breakdown? Because you've been gone so long too. Do you realize that like, no, that's just, you know, your band is bigger than Breakdown. You know what I mean? Like you didn't really know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to play. I didn't think when they said that we were headlining, I was like, I should back out of this shit. That's a little too much pressure, man. I don't want the pressure. I just want to play.
Yeah.
But then they're like, this is the way it's got to be.
Yeah. But it's just crazy, like, just writing something like when you're 15 years old and then being totally off the grid away from all this stuff, living in normal society, being a dad, working, you know, and then you come back and there's this whole world that's still been there and it's even bigger and thriving. It's crazy.
Yeah, it seems huge now.
Yeah. And kids appreciate it and they respect the history of it too and the roots of it. And that's what's cool about it. Like, I'm sure there's all different people sing along to those songs. You're like, what the fuck? It's like...
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of gray hairs, you know?
Of course.
Like
Old Revelation shirts.
Yeah, there's plenty of that. But I'll tell you another thing, and this is, you know, just one of those... I kind of have out-of-body experiences when I'm on stage, and that hasn't changed. So, like, I get back up on stage after 35 years. I'm in front of 7,000 people.
Bro.
You know, and I'm kind of like, wah, you know... And, but I am looking at faces, and I remember certain faces in the crowd, you know, when I get a glimpse of light, you know, in the dark room, like, and first of all, I don't ever remember that many people smiling. Like, I was like, wow, people are really into this, right? Yeah. And then the other thing was that I see, like, so here I am in Holland, and about 3 rows back, which is pretty close in a hardcore scene.
Yeah.
Is a woman in a hijab, like rocking out to Side by Side.
That's incredible.
Like no one you could never have told me 35 years ago that, oh yeah, like these are the kinds of, you know, people that will come to your shows.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That is crazy. I also love the fact you're only going to do 3 shows.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. No.
And you're cool with that. And you.
Yeah. I don't have anything more to offer now.
Yeah. Not going to write a new record or anything. You're just like, yeah.
There's no, you know, as much as I love doing that, I'm not the guy. I'm not the songwriter. I'm not the one with the words. There's other people that need to do that.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
You know.
Have you not listened to hardcore or anything like that through all these years either? Or paid attention to anything going on?
No, I had to re-educate myself. and I think I have not been the best of students because there's still stuff I'm hearing. Like, I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, and Mike, I mean, like, so do you keep track of all this stuff now? Because there's like 1 billion bands.
I mean, I do. And my wife does too, a lot.
Also, where you work too, you're in the mix of like...
Yeah, I'm also working at merch now, so we're making a lot of that
Equavision,
merch.
all that too, so it's like you're in the mix for...
But when I did get up to merch now, I was just like, who the hell is this? And they're like, well, this is this band. I was like, never heard of them. There's a lot of bands out there. But I've been lucky enough to play a lot now and go see like these guys who are always like bringing younger bands with them. And so I've seen a lot of the younger bands. It's just a great scene right now.
Yeah. It's the podcasts are a big part of my education because
Yeah, for
like I'll
sure.
hear them talk about something and then
Yeah.
I'll go look it up. That I'm going to sound like the old guy. That kind of a resource wasn't really available. You couldn't get so much information on what was going on the way you can now.
Oh, there's
and
no
then go
yeah.
hear it.
Yeah. I mean, no social media, no internet, all that
Yeah.
stuff back then. It was
Yeah, I
just-
mean, a fanzine, you could maybe read about a band, but
Totally.
then you had to now find where their
Yeah.
freaking record was or whatever,
Yeah.
or a thank you list, or what T-shirt that person's wearing the back cover.
Yeah.
Just like the whole just finding stuff. It was so awesome. The time we lived back then, like going to record stores and the flyers and all. And that was a flyer on the internet. It's like
yeah, and
so different.
It kind of makes perfect sense though that it would explode because if you have access to it, see, I always suspected there were more of us that they just didn't connect, like they didn't have a way of connecting, like there were more misfits out there that would have loved all that shit,
Yeah.
but just didn't have access.
Yeah. It's true. It was really
I think
small back
because
then.
of where we were at. I mean, New York City was a hard nut to
course.
crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I'm also thinking about, someone in, suburban Ohio couldn't have had it much easier, like they had to find all this stuff too, right?
Yeah.
New York was kind of in.
yeah. Because I remember my first times going to New York, I was like, probably going to die here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's scary, right? Yeah.
So
What was the first, if Side by Side was when you were 15, like how young were you when you started going to shows?
Probably 13,
Yeah.
14, like, and I came into it, you always, everyone has a very similar story, I think.
Yeah.
They have a friend and they start
Totally.
seeing what this friend's doing and you're like, okay, let me check that out, and back then you did have some bands that were more recognizable,
Yeah.
the Black Flags, the Circle Jerks, the Suicidals,
Dead Kennedys, all
the
that.
Dead Kennedys, so you, in a way, those are kind of gateway,
Totally.
gateways. But what was cool about that is Minor Threat was one of those. Minor Threat was one of those bands that like everyone's like, you should probably check these guys out, you know? And that was all great. But what did I have in common with the Black Flag folks, right? Like,
Yeah.
didn't they start in the 70s? I
Yeah.
mean, so did the Circle Jerks,
Or
right?
the Sex Pistols too.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah,
I
yeah.
had
It's
nothing in
like,
common.
That kind of wasn't my thing, but I liked a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I found out that there was actually a live scene that was going on, that you could actually go and see the bands and actually like talk to them and you could see them like in these tiny venues, like where there's no
Big barricades. Yeah.
no,
You're equal with them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
It was like, I was like, eureka.
Yeah. This is it for me.
And that's why, in a way, what happened was so I kind of got introduced to those bigger bands, but that wasn't really what I was about. I found the people that I was about, and then I was like, I don't want to hear nothing from these other guys. Like these older guys, don't care. I want to see what's going on in New York. And I became very, very like narrow.
Okay.
Like if it wasn't happening, like right there in front of me with the guys that I knew,
Yeah.
it wasn't happening.
Damn.
Right. So it wasn't about music. See, I wasn't a musician.
Yeah.
It was about this phenomenon. It wasn't until I started hanging out with guys like Mike and finding out, Death Before Dishonor, the band that preceded Supertouch, and hearing those songs, I'm like, oh, this shit's really good. Like, I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah.
And then folks saying like, well, this all comes from like bands like Negative Approach and whatever. And I'm like, who? And that's when I started learning about the older stuff that was really, again, not the mass produced kind of,
Yeah. I understand about
not the stuff that you would hear on soundtracks on like, Charlie Sheen movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Ramones and stuff like that. Fear, all these bands. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which now I respect those bands for what they were.
Totally.
And I appreciate them more.
Yeah. I also feel like a lot of that punk stuff, I could skateboard to it. It was aggressive, but lyrically I couldn't relate to like a Bollock or a Sex Pistol. Just it was cool to listen to, but then I feel like punk rock was always like maybe like fuck everything, fuck your parents, anarchy, fuck the government. But then hardcore is like, let's actually try to fix something and make a change. And you know what I mean? Like let's make the world a better place and sing about these social issues and all this stuff that the other bands weren't really caring about. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah. And well, gosh, there's a lot of theories.
Bad Brains. Yeah.
There's a lot of okay. So
Yeah,
I have advice. I have
like,
advice for anybody starting a band. Do not even try to cover the Bad Brains.
That's a great advice.
Okay, just don't. You can jam out in your rehearsal studios and like try to fuck around with it.
Yeah.
But don't. They're just on another level. They always were.
Yeah.
I got to see some of that, but very late.
Okay.
When I see the videos, tell me that HR didn't actually defy the laws of physics. He did.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one of his backflips? It
Yeah.
shouldn't work. He's like a bumblebee. It shouldn't work,
Yeah.
but it does. Right?
Yeah.
Bumblebees aren't supposed to be able to fly, but they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
look at the footage. It's crazy CB, all those different crazy videos of them. It's insane.
I did get to see them at those Christmas shows at CB's, and they were like they were just so far above everything else.
Magical.
Live.
Yeah.
For a live experience. But I did love all those bands who were just like, and then me and you were lucky. The scene that we're part of, what was happening with Ether Today and all these new bands being made. I mean, New York was fucking the shit at that point.
Yeah.
It might have been a small little world for us, but it was a fucking good time.
But it
It
was
was everything.
But it was so I mean, Sick of It All.
Yeah.
Right? Was popping right.
Yeah.
Youth of Today.
Yeah.
And Warzone. Listen, and nobody forget Warzone, because that
100%.
in 1986, Warzone for me was like, wow, this is about as good as it gets.
One of the greatest. Yeah.
But I guess like for a kid who like was kind of dealing with hand-me-downs from other people's scenes, right?
Yeah.
Like either classic rock or the older punk stuff or whatever, to have something that was actually happening at that time. That was the grass. Like my heroes were the guys that I hung out with like every week, weekend.
Yeah. Did you have siblings? You have siblings too?
I do not. I'm
Okay,
a lonely only. Yeah.
Okay. So you was out there with your friends going to shows. Like your parents were cool about you going to the city and stuff like that.
I don't know.
Were they strict?
I don't know how. They tried to be.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Were you a good kid?
Well, I was a straight edge kid. So I mean, that's for
great.
any parent. That should be
true.
like, wow, okay, we're good.
It's true. It's true.
But was I a good kid? No. I mean, no. I didn't go to school. I was a nightmare for them with
Wow.
school. I barely graduated high school.
Damn.
And I always was going into the city. Like actually, they were not strict, because I just can't even imagine as a parent letting my kid do what I did.
Especially back then. Yeah. I know.
Oh my God.
Same. It's crazy.
But both my parents worked all the time, and they worked late.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, it's like I kind of grew up by myself in a lot of ways. I was a latchkey kid, whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you hit your teenage years, if they haven't already reined you in by that point, they're not gonna.
It's over. Yeah.
And I remember getting into a thing with my dad, and he was like, "Well, you're not getting allowance." Like that was going to be the punishment. Then the school calls him the next day. Your kid isn't in school. And he's like, "Why weren't you at school?" It's like, "Well, I went and got a job."
Wow. What was your job?
Actually, I want to see Mike's face. I worked for Gina next door to Some Records at her clothing store.
Yeah,
I was
Some
like,
Records,
I was
wow.
loss prevention.
Lost
What
perfection.
was that? What was that place called?
I forget now.
It wasn't 99X, was it?
It was.
99X.
It was
Wow.
99X. Yes, it was. That's right.
How old are you
That's
then?
funny.
How old was I?
Yeah.
That probably 16, 17.
Yeah. And so you're already in side by side starts when you're in school. Obviously, that's crazy.
I was in I was like a sophomore or something.
Is this your first band too?
Yeah, first band.
An only band?
Well, no,
Before.
actually, wait. Me and Eric Fink,
Okay.
guitarist in Side by Side, tried to start a band when I was much younger, and we were much more like nihilistic punk types. He had this gigantic mohawk.
Sick.
But we were, again, one of the reasons I think it didn't work kind of as a concept is that there was no heart to it. We were just kind of mimicking older punk stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't until we grew up a little bit and said, wow, we can actually like say something that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we tried to do this like silly punk band, and I was playing drums, and I was terrible.
Oh wow.
I was terrible. And that didn't work.
Yeah.
I think we all did that. We all had, like, my first band was called Future Confusion.
Sick.
I remember going into the city to play A7, and Vinny Stigma saying that's a stupid name. So
Thanks, Vinny.
it happens.
Dang. So are there kids at your school at that time? They're into the same type of music?
There was like one guy
Wow.
who actually ended up, the last time I saw him, he was hanging out with Will Shepler.
Well, Shepler, yes.
Yeah.
Like they were friends. But he was into a different part of the scene. Like he wasn't into the youth crew stuff. He was
Okay.
into more of the beat down skinhead stuff.
Yeah, the tough shit. Yeah.
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 And I lost touch with him. He was a good friend, and we were basically prisoners together at high school.
Okay.
But he was a little older than I was, and he got out first.
And becoming straight edge for you, was that inspired by Minor Threat or probably YOT and those bands you're hanging out
It
with?
was more the people I was hanging out with than anything to do with the music.
Okay.
Because I liked non-straight edge bands. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
but it was I was seeing people, and I was like, this guy seems like he's got his shit together, and he seems pretty happy, and seems like, why don't I want to be more like that?
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like more of an inspiration type thing.
Yeah, totally.
I couldn't stand, and and I don't know, Mike and I may have philosophical differences on this. I don't think so, though. I don't think so. But I never liked kind of the idea of peer pressure going in the opposite direction, right? Like there was so much peer pressure to drink and do drugs, and I hated peer pressure on the other side.
Yeah.
Because I thought the whole point was you made that decision. It wasn't something you're doing to follow somebody else.
Yeah. Personal choice.
Which I think if you and I guess you could say, well, isn't straight edge better? Like, even if you're doing it kind of for the wrong reasons, I guess so. I guess there's that argument can be made.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I never wanted to be like the idea of,
like preachy or judging people for not being like you, or
and
better than you crew. Is that kind of thing? Like be like super.
I mean,
elitist.
I agree. Like
Elitist.
at that point, I mean, I know what I was about. I was like mad at my upbringing.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to tell anybody how to live. I was just trying to tell what pissed me off.
Yeah.
But on the same, like, I would still like nausea and shit. Like that band. Like,
yeah.
I love those guys.
Gnostic Front. They were
loved all
straight
that
edge.
shit.
Yeah. Warzone. All that.
Things didn't change to like, well, we can only go to see these types of bands later.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
And by the way, I'm gonna say that, like, Judge, do you remember coming to my house with that tape?
I do.
Damn.
Okay, so this was one of those
Judge
moments.
demo?
This was before anybody had heard it.
Yeah.
Okay, this was one of those moments that I absolutely have indelibly burned into my brain. It was one of the most fucking magical things. is Mike just kind of dropped by my house, right? Because like I said,
Passing by.
people would come by.
Yeah.
And I had a room in the basement because it was the only place I could get any friggin' privacy. and do you remember you had to duck because the ceiling was so low. So we're there hunched over but I did have a stereo. He put the tape in the stereo and I heard the New York Crew 7-inch.
That's got goosebumps. That's kind of sick.
And I was rendered speechless.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what Mike was able to achieve without a band, because like it was just you and Purcell, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's without a band, and Mike poured so much of himself into that record.
Yeah.
There isn't like, there isn't one part of that I wasn't like, this is Mike speaking from like the deepest part of him. And I was like, this shit is going to take off. I was so impressed. And sure as shit, look at what happened. I mean, that was a stellar moment. And understand, Side by Side was done at that point. And that was the inspiration for me to do Alone in a Crowd. I'm like, well, fuck, maybe I've got some still I want to say too.
I love that.
And there was a thought of kind of doing a band, but everyone who was involved in Alone in a Crowd had other things going on, and that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But that, to me, it's like that was a moment in hardcore for me. Like when, and the thing is that this guy who's sitting here right now was sitting like on my bed or something, or like in the chair, and I was on the bed because there weren't many places to sit. and he was looking at me to see if it was any good.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, like what do you think? You want your opinion? Yeah.
I mean, I kind of liked it, but I was just like,
You weren't sure about it?
I don't know if I was sure about it. I just gotten out of Youth of Today.
Yeah.
And Youth of Today was a pretty big deal. So people were like, what the fuck? I was just like, I got some things I want to say though myself. So
I love that, man.
And then Jules always had those pizzoids. So never see one of those until I stopped by his place.
Oh my God.
So I was like, damn, maybe Jules wants to hear this.
What's that? Break that for the listeners. Pizza. What was that?
It was some like one of the vegetarian like thing that you'd get at, because there were only a few places you could get that kind of stuff.
Especially back then.
You remember what it was like to be a vegetarian back then?
Brutal.
It was like a fake pizza, but
okay, you said pizzoids?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was like soy instead of cheese. It
was
OG
ones.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I was like, damn, I don't know where he gets these from. I'm gonna stop by.
And I don't remember where he got them from either.
Remember, I think we made a bunch for the Cro-Mags when they were rehearsing in like Weehawken or Seahawken or something.
It's so funny because this has come up in talking with folks. We've got a lot of stories. And this
crazy,
guy.
Man. Yeah, it's cool.
But Mike comes over to my house and he's like, "Hey, do you want to go see the Cro-Mags practice?" And I'm like,
"What?
Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, of course. Like, and I'm thinking we need to go into the city or whatever." They're a block from my house. They were rehearsing in Weehawken, New Jersey, under the viaduct from the Lincoln Tunnel.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they just signed with Profile, so they rented them out a warehouse so they could rehearse or some shit.
And how was that?
And, so answer this, because like people ask me, and I have no idea.
That'd be scary.
How did you even know that they were there? How did you find out?
It had to be Harley. Harley must have told me. I don't remember. I just remember them doing it.
And then
bonkers.
And then he freaking comes over, and then we walk over there, and we're like, boom. I'm like, hey guys, what's up? Like hanging out with the Cro-Mags at their practice.
Like the OG lineup. That's like
I know I brought him carrot juice one time.
Yeah.
Because I had that juicer.
Yeah.
You had a juicer back then. Wow.
I had a juicer back then.
Wow.
I tried. I really tried.
So.
Oh, I keep tapping.
No, it's all good. So before you found Straight Edge, have you not tried anything before that? You were 15 years old. You're super
Oh no,
young.
are
Yeah.
you kidding? Of course I tried stuff.
Oh, you're a younger age.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Listen,
okay.
New York City, you grow up fucking fast. Man.
Yeah. So you dabbled in a bunch of shit before you went straight edge. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. I wouldn't say a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Okay. There's crazy shit out there.
That's true. That's true. I'm not
that
saying
I didn't touch. But weed, sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard to get alcohol. It was easier for kids, I think, even to get alcohol because no one was worried about you driving.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's like it was kind of no one cared.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were somewhere else where everyone gets in their cars, like where I am now at 16, everyone gets in their cars after a party. It's a
True.
bigger deal.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I mean,
yeah. And what about music before you found hardcore? We listened to like just regular music, radio or rock and roll or?
Oh God. I had a big U2 phase.
Nice.
Like
I love U2.
before they went, gold lame cowboy hats and shit.
Octung Baby, yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
No.
Early stuff.
And I actually got to see. So I must have been. We could probably pinpoint how old I was, but I saw them at Madison Square Garden for the Unforgettable Fire tour. So
Wow.
before Joshua Tree.
That's incredible.
Because after Joshua Tree, then everyone in my high school was like, "Oh, you too, check them out." I'm like, dude,
I've been liking them first.
Yeah, it's like I was that guy. I turned into that guy. Like
Yeah.
I can't like them anymore because you like them.
Yeah. Wow. So then after, yeah, that's true. I found them first.
But always liked. It's funny. It's like I think about it now, but always liked like English beat,
Nice.
Squeeze. A lot of the British kind of whatever new wave post punk. The beat was ska, but not really. They did other shit too.
Yeah.
Just trying to think. I'm drawing a blank.
It's all good.
I'm just drawing a blank. It was sort of like, like that. Those were the dark ages,
No,
right?
for
Like
sure.
after hardcore, music became like a real thing.
So does the side-by-side 7-inch come out while you're in school?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but the band had broken up when it came out.
Okay.
Like we broke up in between recording it and
That's
putting
crazy.
it out.
And had
So-
you play a bunch of shows too? You were playing a lot?
So we played.
It's a short time, but
Yeah.
I remember we played a
We
lot
played a
because
ton.
the
okay.
Youth of Today van always had GB and side by side.
In
Okay.
it. Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
I've got a great story.
Let's go.
All right. So Albany, New York. We go up and I don't remember what the exact lineup was, but it was a VFW hall up in Albany. Slapshot.
Wow.
And I got to play with Slapshot, which I was really excited
That's
about.
cool.
And Side by Side played. I don't know if it was the Biscuits. I don't know if it was Warzone. I know Ray B's was there, but I don't think he played. So I don't remember who. It might have been Youth of Today. I don't remember. But
Okay.
we were all up there. And that show was one of our worst.
Okay.
Well, because Billy didn't make it.
Oh,
So we
okay.
were down a bass player, and Eric had to take the bass, and
Okay.
Alex didn't know any of Eric's parts. So we literally would reach a part like where the guitar is supposed to come in,
Yeah.
and it's dead air because like Alex didn't know to play. Like he always,
Yeah.
like it was always someone else. So our show sucked. Anyway, Albany's friggin' far away from Manhattan.
Yeah.
And we all pile back in the van afterwards. It's late. And Ray B's is going to drive. Like, I'm going to drive. And it's the Youth of Today van. And he's driving this fucking van with all of us in it and all this equipment at like absolute redlining the thing. Like 100, 110, like whatever
Wow.
that thing could do, he was
Wow.
pushing it. And he was doing this thing like where he's kind of like weaving like lane to lane. And I was sitting up in the passenger shotgun with him,
Shotgun.
and I'm like, Ray, like, what are you doing? And he's like, this is how you evade radar. And he's like, my daddy taught me that. And he's like, wrong. And luckily we were the only ones on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, And typical fashion, and once again, Mike's gonna laugh because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. That's when all of a sudden the limo service starts, right? We get back into Manhattan and people are like, "Oh, drop me off here. Oh, drop me off there."
It's the
and
worst.
and you're driving all over the fucking city instead of like everyone getting off in one spot and going home. Like,
I remember
and
that.
so and of course, me and Mike are the last ones because we're going back to Jersey and you're taking the van
Back to my
back
dad's
to
place.
to your place. And so I'm going to be the last one dropped off, right?
Okay.
And we get the last people off in Manhattan and we're driving and we're starting we're over on the west side somewhere heading towards the Lincoln Tunnel and Mike goes right through a red light.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he goes right through a red light and I'm like kind of like and there's nobody on the road so it
Yeah.
was okay. But like he's like no brakes.
Yeah.
He goes, no brakes. I go, quit fucking around, man. He goes, no, really, there's no brakes. We go through the next red light. Like, and I'm like, well, fucking pull over. Like,
Holy
turn the
shit.
wheel, stop. And he's like, no, I'm going to make it.
I was like, I could get it home.
and so literally,
Wow.
like we go through the Lincoln Tunnel, no brakes. We go past my house, no brakes. And I think you were just kind of doing a slow roll with
Yeah.
the van. And I
That's
like
freaking
jump
nuts.
out. And he's like, I'm like, okay, Mike, it's like 4 a.m. And I'm like, I really hope he makes it back okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
And how did you make it home? Obviously, you made it home.
Yeah.
Did you call from the home phone? Tell me you made it.
Just no,
No.
just,
Who am I going to call?
All right, I'll call him. Yeah.
yeah, not at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
But
That's crazy, man.
but yeah, I rabies like mortally injured that van.
Yeah.
There's no question.
He was a lot older than everybody, right? And looked out for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, rabies was there before I got there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Godfather's a
It's
hardcore
incredible.
thing? Have you seen
man.
the pictures and the video of rabies?
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah.
And he
yeah.
looks so young. Like
Yeah.
that was mind blowing.
That's such a beautiful documentary, man.
That was mind blowing. Those shots of like A7 and Todd Youth, like,
Oh, yeah.
And all that are unreal. I'd never seen any of that video before.
Yeah, that's a
So
really
good.
Okay, so you're playing shows and then
Okay, so side by side. So, played our first show on my 16th birthday.
That's nice. Okay, 16th birthday was your first show.
16th birthday at CB's,
Okay,
opening for Warzone.
incredible.
And Youth of Today, right? I don't remember.
That's a crazy first show.
I don't remember, but we were the opening band.
Wow.
And what's significant about that is that was the first time that I was like able to get into CB's per their policy.
Yes.
Because before that, no one under 16 was allowed in, and you'd have to use a fake ID. And that's what kind of nerds we were. Like, we weren't using fake IDs to try to like buy beer or anything. We were
To a
using
show.
to get into CB's.
I wonder why it wasn't all ages there. I'm always curious about that. Why it wasn't
liability.
Yeah.
Liability.
So many
Because they had the bar.
Sunday
They had
Madness.
the bar.
But
in
then
the back.
once you played at CB's, then you got like what they call a band courtesy or something. Like you got
band
in,
courtesy
Yeah, like you got in for like.
for life.
Well, so some people did.
Um,
Not me.
so side by side didn't last that long. It's crazy.
No,
when you think about it.
we 87. Basically, we were 87. We formed in 86, started getting songs together, played the first show April of 87, and then just played 87 like crazy.
Yeah. What's
and
the furthest you like get out? Like
I
furthest
think
you went?
Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
Okay, that's the furthest you went.
I was just gonna say that is because
Were you on that trip?
was that the haunted?
Yeah, the haunted freaking house.
That is like one of my most memorable fucking moments.
You played
ever.
a haunted house, or you went to a haunted house?
It was GB Youth of Today side by side.
Yep.
We go to play this place, and just like always, Capo gets out and starts looking for a place for us to stay. So he finds this kid, and this kid's like, yeah, everybody can stay over. So Capo brings the kid over to meet us, and I remember looking at the kid going, he's young. Obviously, he's got fucking parents. Like this is not going to end well.
And there were 11 or 12
Yeah.
of us.
There was
It wasn't just like a band.
Yeah.
It was
There was
like the
3
band
bands.
and the entourage.
Yeah.
And this dude was like, he wasn't. I mean, he looked like a normal kid, and I was like, he's young. I was like, this is not gonna end well. But when we get there, it's like super fucking late, and we get there, and his parents are up and they're cooking us food,
Oh wow.
and they're like, "Great to meet you."
And
I'm
didn't
like,
Ray like take over the kitchen there?
I just
for a
remember-
bit,
I'm sure he
too?
did.
I just remember being like, this is really weird. Like getting a place to stay for all of us, and then parents up cooking us food, and then saying like we can sleep here and shit. I was
Wow.
like, this is weird.
So, but here's the haunted part of
Yes.
it: is that there were these rafters it was a high ceilinged, like open plan, and most of the guys were in that open room.
Okay.
And it was Luke,
Yeah.
Luke Abbey.
The rafters, there was this huge ceiling fan in the middle, and me and Luke were laying down next to each other, like staring at the ceiling fan, and we were making jokes like, "Yo, if this ceiling fan came down, take out all 3 bands. Bam, we're all gone."
Yeah.
We were like joking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, and it's, I mean, listen, it's like a little kid's slumber party. Like they're
Yeah.
all fucking around all night long.
Yeah.
Now, what's kind of funny in the hierarchy of bands, which, for whatever reason, the lead singers got their
His
own
own room?
rooms,
Totally.
which I wasn't exactly going to say no to, right?
Yeah.
But it was just it's not like I asked for it, but Capo and I think were in the kids' bedroom.
Wow.
But anyway, so the story is actually didn't somebody like scream in the middle of the night or something like that?
Yeah. So me and Luke are laying there, and everybody's just whispering. Like we're whispering.
This is true shit.
We're not being fucking loud. We're just whispering to each other all around, right? And all of a sudden, I'm assuming the father, who was just like maybe a half hour, like super nice and cooking food and being happy to meet us, just yells out like, "You fucking can't shut up," like that. And I'm like, what the fuck? So we're like, whoa, that's weird. And then the haunted part is I'm laying down next to Luke, right? We're just on our backs looking up, and we're talking about this ceiling fan killing us. And this red streak just like flies, and I feel something like brush against my nose. And I was like, what the fuck? And I hear Luke go, "Woof." And I go, "Dude, you seen that, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, what was it?" I go, "I don't fucking know, but this house is fucked, dude."
Did somebody? So here's how I heard it the next morning.
Yeah.
And I'm sure. Listen, you could never quite trust like the story, right? But
Yeah.
But someone said something about the prior owner had hanged themselves from the
Oh, wow.
rafter or
If
something
you,
like
this
that.
is what,
Right?
this is crazy. So the morning comes, Capo's waking us up. Come on, gotta get in the van. We gotta go. Really fucking like rushing us and shit. So we're like, fucking, what's up? And we take off, and we get out of like the fucking neighborhood or whatnot. And he pulls over. He's like, "Dude, that fucking kid's brother like hung himself from those rafters."
It was. So
right.
see? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, he's like, "His brother hung himself." And they hung a fucking ceiling fan where he fucking hung himself. Some shit.
Oh my God, dude.
The kid was like saying how his like parents never, had a hard time dealing with it, like, and now this kid's like, I was like,
That's heavy, man.
Oh,
it was fucking nuts.
See, now here's the other interesting part of this story, because I think the truth is somewhere in between all of these
Yeah, for sure.
versions, right? So during our set, as was typical, Eric breaks his foot.
Okay.
Yeah, we were getting injured all the time.
Okay.
Like I mean, it was just there was no sense of self-preservation,
Okay.
And anyway, Eric breaks his foot, and so he's got to go to the doctor. So he goes off. Someone takes him to the hospital. Maybe RJ. I don't know. Someone takes him to the hospital.
Yeah.
But someone's got to go get Eric, right? Like
Yeah.
Eric's at the hospital. We're all at this kid's house.
Yeah.
Right? I go with the dad. The dad drives me to go pick up Eric from the hospital.
Wow.
And he starts asking me a bunch of questions about like the straight edge thing. And, I gave him the typical, no obsession, no drinking, no drugs,
Yeah.
And he explained to me that he had a daughter who had some substance issues, it's because of that he even let all of us come over there. In other words, that this was part of this straight edge thing that his son was into.
Okay. Wow.
Anyway, that's what he's telling me in the car.
Okay.
So unless this family had, guys hanging themselves and, this family went through a whole lot of stuff. If all of this is true.
Yeah.
I think it might be somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
maybe. But that's what he said, I support that, because he wouldn't, in a million years, he wouldn't have let a bunch of lunatics like us into his house.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because trust me, we were out there begging for places to stay for every weekend.
And the funny
summer.
part is, we went to Hershey Park the next day. The reason why Capo was rushing us out was so we could all go to Hershey Park, and we took over Hershey Park for a.
Was he kind of like the tour manager guy in the whole thing, kind of running the show? Capo?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I didn't.
You travel with him more than I did.
I didn't want to do it.
I just he was like the dad. He's not older too. He might be a little bit older too, Capo. I don't know, but he seems like he kind of like run the show in a sense.
He's bossy.
Yeah. So why does Side by Side end up breaking up? You guys are super young, obviously. There's a whole life in front of you.
So what's funny is there was a lot of discussion about that, because it's like, well, why did we break up, right? We all had to go and think back.
Yeah.
And there were, I hit the nail on the head, I think, with we're recording the record, and things are starting to almost get kind of to gel seriously. Like we actually sound like a band, and we're actually gonna put out a record. We're a band now. Yeah. And oh my God, there it is.
It's my wife's copy. Yeah.
So
she wants you to sign it, by the way. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. I can't name names because I don't remember.
Yeah.
But we were listening in Don Fury's studio on Spring Street. We were listening to the different tracks, to do the mix.
Yeah.
And we were listening to the bass on one of the songs.
Yeah.
And someone was complaining it wasn't very good. Okay. And and I guess that started a discussion of, well, why don't we get somebody else to play bass then? And I was like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
Billy and I started this band. No way.
Yeah.
But then it was kind of put to a vote, and it was like,
wow.
Well, we're going to vote. And it was 3, and I abstained because I wasn't even going to partake in any of it. And like that, Billy was out of the band. And
wow.
And the part that I grouse about to this day is that I was the one that had to call him, because he wasn't there for any of this.
That's great. Yeah.
And I will never forget that Mike said this to me when I kind of went to him and say, hey, guess what just fucking happened?
Yeah.
They voted Billy out of the band. And I think Mike was sort of like, well, why? It's like, well, I guess he can't play bass very good, and Mike said, that isn't a reason to kick him out of the band. He actually said,
yeah,
that shouldn't matter.
You guys are friends. Yeah. Before musicians. Yeah.
And that has rattled around in my head. I've long since kind of made peace with all of that. I think we're all good, right? Billy's been doing the reunion shows.
Yeah.
We're all good. But that that was part the first.
And how did Billy take it?
Well, I mean, as well as anyone could. I mean, how do you
Plus
how does anyone?
Kids, yeah, you saw your kids too. It's
yeah. Well, he was 24.
Oh,
he was the oldest one of us. But he took it like an adult would. But I mean, it's not good to hear. Who wants to hear that?
No.
Right. So then we get a new bass player, and that's Lars.
Lars, okay. Yeah.
And that's how I started knowing Lars, right? But there was something about the dynamic of the band, and basically what I said was, guys, now that we're finished recording the record, I want to take a break. I want to take a little time off.
Was Lars already in Uppercut at this point?
Uppercut hadn't started yet.
Wow. I remember Uppercut.
This is pre Uppercut. So he played with us and then went on to do that.
And Killing Time too, I think a bunch of bands, I think.
Well, I don't think he
did
played
Raw
with
Deal.
them.
What?
Raw Deal?
I saw him play with
Maybe.
Killing Time before. Yes, that.
Well, he was with that Yonkers crew.
Yeah, he was in one
right?
of those lineups for sure.
Yeah,
I definitely saw Lars with Killing Time.
Could be.
Oh, he's from Yonkers, okay.
But the thing that I didn't quite understand, because I wasn't mature enough, I was 16.
Yeah.
Okay, is that me saying, hey, I want to take a break, when you had Sammy, who I think was shouldering way too much responsibility in the band at 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he held the money. We did that because, listen, wait, no, I know why you're laughing, but no. But there was a reason for that, because Billy might spend it on rent.
Okay.
Like Sammy was in a stable place, didn't need the money, could do that. But he was also, he was spray painting the banners. He was starting to write lyrics. He was becoming a really good drummer too.
Amazing drummer.
So for him to hear me say, "Hey guys, let's take, our foot off the gas."
Yeah.
And then here's the other thing. Alex had become this kind of force in the band too. I mean, that's his graphic on the front.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Name your 3 favorite side-by-side songs.
Yeah.
Okay. Backfire. Like, everyone says the same thing, right? Well, maybe not on that record, but Backfire, Living a Lie, and Time Is Now. And Alex was the writer on those. I mean, with me. I mean, we collaborated, but those were his songs.
It's crazy. You're only young once, and I don't know if you guys know about the term YOLO. It's like a big thing with the kids. It's like,
we
you're the originators. You were Yo-Yo, the originals. It's true though. I looked at that today. I was like, what? And this image is from like LL Cool J or something like that, or something. Take on that.
So listen, here's the other thing too.
B-boys.
We loved that stuff.
I'm sure.
Listen, we fucking loved all of that stuff.
Yeah, hip hop. Yeah.
Eric B and Rakim
Best.
and Public Enemy, and anyway, but so he took photographs of LL Cool J and turned them into like youth crew dudes.
I love it. Yeah.
And there is a photograph somewhere on the internet.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Of LL Cool J holding our record.
I seen that.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell that happened, but that's so cool.
And it was nothing but a thing for him. He didn't care,
You see that picture?
I have, yeah.
It's really cool.
But that he was the model, right?
Yeah.
For that. But Alex had become this force, and we were doing some really cool shit. And so I think for Alex and Sammy to hear me say, let's dial it down a notch, was the wrong. I completely, that was the wrong thing. And I said this on another podcast, which is like, the second I said that and we took a break, they did Project X.
Wow.
Alex and Sammy did Project X, like right then and there.
Yeah.
So these guys were driven. They wanted to go. They didn't want to hear from, hey, why don't we stop for a bit?
And as you can tell now, Sammy never stopped.
No.
Still going.
And here's the thing. And would I have done anything differently? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't appreciate any of that.
Mm-hmm.
That these guys were like really into it and really wanted to keep going and do more.
Yeah.
And we weren't just a bunch of knuckleheads, practicing our set anymore.
Yeah.
We were something else.
Yeah. And was the band getting bigger? You felt it was getting bigger for how big you could get back at that time? Like there was a buzz, I guess. I don't know. Shows are getting.
I think so. If that last Anthrax show was any indication of what our trajectory was going to be, we were going to be, we could have toured.
Yeah.
We could have, I'm not saying like we were going to,
Anthrax was pretty big though.
Anthrax was
Anthrax
great.
Was big.
Great. I love that
Yeah.
fucking
Incredible
place.
man.
I love
Incredible
that
shows. So that was your last. What was your last show? What year would that be?
It's either winter 87 or early 88.
That makes sense because I said we didn't meet. And I moved to New York in '88 for sure.
Yeah. That would be the last. And I want to say it was probably like December or something like that. Like it was late 87. I'm pretty sure.
I know there's a gap between Low and the Crowd.
And that was the only show Lars played.
Oh, okay.
And there is a video of that show, and it's
sure.
fucking great. Like that was the best I think we ever did.
Yeah.
And you know why? We were all fucking pissed at each other. Why is that?
That
so?
energy was good.
Why? I don't know. Mike may feel different, but honestly, that gave us the edge.
Yeah.
And we just knocked it out of the park.
Wow.
And it was pandemonium. I mean, it was fucking. We were getting unplugged, like shit breaking. Lars's amp was not grounded or some shit, and you'd get these fucking shocks off of them.
Yeah, what the fuck?
What the fuck was that?
Fuck was that?
That was the amp.
That was it. And how'd you feel like the day after that? I know you so many years ago. Were you super bummed that it was over?
Well, no, we didn't know it. We didn't. I'm sorry. Look, it's happening.
We're both having it right now.
Oh, someone's ears are burning.
Oh my god,
That's weird,
dude.
right?
Wow. Lars is calling him right now.
Yeah, I am gonna have to call him back, but not right now. No, we didn't know that was going to be the last.
Okay, we didn't know. Okay. It wasn't announced. It wasn't. Go. It's a good. Yeah. Mike's gonna take a piss break.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Okay, Mike. Yeah, do your thing, bro.
Trying to be professional.
No, I always take piss breaks on here. It's fine. No, I appreciate you, Mike, taking piss breaks.
No, you got to use a bottle, Mike, like a truck driver.
Like in a van tour. So you didn't know it was gonna be the last show. You didn't know that at all. Okay.
No.
Gotcha. Yeah.
No. But I think that bad energy, it was palpable.
Yeah.
It was palpable.
Yeah. And so, are you working at that time, obviously, or are you still living at home?
No, I was 17. I may have even still been 16.
Wow. Just a kid, man. It's crazy. So young, man. You know?
And I didn't appreciate that. You know, that's the other funny thing is that when you're the youngest of the crew,
yeah,
you don't kind of realize you're the youngest of the crew. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what I hear about dogs is like we're just other dogs to them. Like they don't see any difference. They're just part of the dog, pack.
Yeah.
And that's what I was. I was part of the pack, but I was like way younger. Mm-hmm. I mean, but you had Sammy, you had Luke was my age, you had other people, but I was way younger than anyone in youth of today.
Yeah.
Maybe Walter was maybe 2 years older than me, something like
Walter
that.
was? Oh yeah, Walter was always older, right? Yeah.
Well, and then Ray and Purcell were what, 4 or 5 years older?
Yeah. And so Alone in the Crowd doesn't come out to like 89, so you have like 2 years of just not doing music?
Pretty much. I was going to judge shows.
Nice. You were still going to shows, you're still being part of the scene, but you just weren't playing music.
Yeah. I was technically banned from CB's, but that kind of wore off after a while, and I would go to shows. There's
banned because of your age?
No, banned because of the Shutdown show.
Okay.
Which was a great show too.
Wow. So that was so it got shut down for.
So the story goes there, and shit, Mike was there. He had to have been. So it was Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits, Side by Side, and the Pagan Babies.
Pagan Babies from Jersey.
From Philly.
Philly, okay. I remember Pagan Babies.
And what had happened, and there are some photographs. I was looking hard on the internet, and here's the problem. My internet research sucks because I never save anything.
Okay.
And then I go to try to find it again, and I can't.
Yeah.
But so what had happened was the way CB's matinees worked back then is that 1 week would be like thrash metal, death metal shit.
Yeah.
And then the next week would be hardcore. So you'd have like an on Sunday and an off Sunday.
Yeah, I remember.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happened is that some kid got hurt
Okay.
at one of the metal shows, and his parents sued the club.
Wow. Okay.
So Hilly, may he rest in peace.
Yes.
His solution to the problems was to have these giant bouncer dudes stand in front of the bands
I remember.
on the stage at CB's, which was the size of a postage stamp.
100%.
And these dudes, you were there.
Was it Frank? I remember someone.
I wasn't at the shutdown show.
You were not there.
I was not there.
Damn.
Who drummed for You Today? Who the fuck drummed for them then?
Sammy?
No, couldn't have been.
Oh, maybe I was there. I don't fucking remember. Man.
You were in the back. You were in the back with the drums.
I was a drummer. No one pays attention to me anyway.
But no. So these two friggin' massive guys. They were Hispanic guys, Latin guys.
Yeah, I remember his work there. Yeah.
But we didn't. I'd never seen them before.
Okay.
No one knew who they were.
Okay.
And they were wearing like hardcore band T-shirts, like Youth Crew type T-shirts and shit. But they would stand in front of the band, and like anyone who tried to get up on stage, they kind of like push them back down. And so the Pagan Babies play, and it's hard enough to be an out of town band and play CBs. Okay, it's hard enough to get a crowd to warm up to you.
Yeah.
But if you got these two guys standing in front of you and like deterring kids from going off, that's a shitty show.
Yeah. 100%.
And so everyone's looking at each other because, all the other bands are behind everybody on stage. And we're like, are they going to do this for us too? And sure as shit, that was the plan. So Hilly's idea was, we'll have these guys here and they'll stop the stage diving.
Mm-hmm.
You know where this is going.
Yeah, for sure.
So though Gorilla Biscuits played next, we used to, and this makes me laugh, we used to toss a coin side by side and Gorilla Biscuits to see who would play first.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Being where I am now, I wish I had said, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
That was like one of those weird things that never had to happen.
So it was a serious thing. Like, you guys, like, who's playing master?
It was like an ego thing. But I chalk it up to being a stupid kid.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, well, first of all, at the end of the day, I laugh because look at what the Gorilla Biscuits went on to do. But it was like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
King shit on Turd Island. Who cares?
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyway, so the Gorilla Biscuits played next, which was actually great for that show.
Yeah.
Because the very first note of their set, everybody bum rushed these guys from behind.
Damn.
So they're focused in front
Yep.
at the kids in the crowd.
Yep.
But Gus Straight Edge, Jason Crackdown, me, Ray, I don't know if I'm sure Ray and Purcell did it too. Everybody did it, as far as I remember. But I definitely know about Gus and Jason because they were doing it constantly.
Jason was wild man too. I love Jason.
Yeah, both of those guys were great pit crew.
Totally.
Great pit
Great
crew.
stage divers.
And anyway, literally, I'm talking about planting a boot on their back and like flipping over their heads.
Wow.
Like, I mean, these guys were just like overwhelmed. And they started kind of trying to grab people and push the kids down. But when the kids started seeing like us flipping over their heads and stuff, that was it.
It's a wrap.
That was it. The pressure, the bottle was open, and that's it. And it was absolute fucking chaos after that.
Damn.
You know how on the CB stage you had that kind of side walkway where you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The beautiful bathroom. Yes.
Oh fuck. God. Anyway, but you know how like that's where people who didn't want to get stomped on,
We're
like
watching.
the girlfriends, like anyone who just like would just wanted to watch in peace. Well, people start stage diving into
On
that
the side,
on
yeah.
the side. And like, it's just because they're just going bananas.
Wow.
And at one point, and I want to say it was Jason Crackdown, but I just can't remember, but I remember seeing it. He's doing one of these things where he's diving over. It could have been Gus diving over this guy's head. And the guy reaches out and grabs him around the legs. So he's upside down, hanging on the edge of the CB stage. And this giant dude has his legs. And what does he do? He grabs around that guy's legs and they start wrestling. And he's upside down, hanging there, wrestling. And they're wrestling.
Wow.
And the next thing you know, it's like, timber. And they all go falling into that side. And you hear like people going like, ah.
Damn.
And boom. And then all of those kids that were like being put down by this guy start launching themselves on top of them.
Wow.
So this pile up is starting. And I'm looking at it going, I don't think I've ever seen a pile up that big. And like somebody's dead under there.
Damn.
Like that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And the fucking bouncer was the one on the bottom.
Wow.
Which was, I mean, that's just luck, right? Because if
Yeah.
it had been Gus, like he would have been squashed.
So the bouncer was okay.
Well, the bouncer came up, but guess what? It was like one of those cartoons. You could see like the Tweety birds going around his head or some shit.
Lumps on his head.
Because at that point, they just kind of said, okay, you guys just do what you want to
Yeah,
do.
we're out of here. We're done with this.
They were there, but they just kind of gave up.
And so you got banned.
We got banned because we each
Who else?
set.
Gus? Everybody else?
Well, no, what happened was the bands participated in all of that. And we were saying shit on stage. I was probably saying some pretty thankless shit, you know, to be honest. And after the show, Ray, me, and I, you know, again, is it a lead singer thing? I don't know. We get taken before Hilly. Like Hilly wants to talk to you. And that's when he says, you know, you've really disrespected me and blah, blah, blah. And you've ruined it for everybody because I'm not doing any more matinees.
Wow. It's a lot.
And he's like, don't even think about coming back in here.
Damn.
That lasted about a month and a half.
Yeah. Were you super bummed?
Actually, you know what? I was so high
off
of that show
like,
that I was like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, who cares?
You know, now I'm much older now and I understand what he was dealing with. He was dealing with people suing him for being hurt, like in his club. Like I get why he was doing it.
Yeah.
I just think his methodology was awful. If he had come to us and said, hey guys, I need your help.
Tonight.
I think everyone would have bent over backwards for
when we keep this club, let's keep respectful and nobody hurt each other and dive.
But this was like what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, nobody was told what was happening. All of a sudden, these two guys were on stage.
And by the way, that doesn't, you know, exonerate our behavior, right?
Yeah.
But what would you expect from a bunch of lunatic hardcore kids?
Yeah.
You tell them not to do something. What do you think they're gonna do?
Yeah. So you bet. Yeah, they only lasted a couple months or 2 months.
But the energy of that show, like, I've seen some shit. But I've never seen anything quite like that one.
Yeah. Damn. So and then playing. Fast forward to playing again. The energy of the shows.
You had to have played that show.
Maybe.
I mean, I would have had to. Yeah, I must have. I just.
Ain't nothing but a thing.
I've
you know?
Played a lot of shows, dude.
You probably were there then.
I would. I mean, if Side by Side was still around, then I've played.
I played that show. To have been.
Yeah. But Mike inspired the Alone in the Crowd. Then you were saying from the demo you heard from
that he inspired me.
I don't know if I inspired the band. I think
we had more to say.
I think I showed that you got something to say. Just go record it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was like. And inspiration is exactly right. To breathe in.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. It's like, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what was so fucking great about all this stuff is you have a bunch of kids and look at what they can do.
I know. Powerful too. Just, yeah.
You know, well, listen, I'm not going to say everyone has a different situation. I should talk about my experience. My parents are now so impressed.
Yeah.
They never were before. I mean,
Wow.
they weren't discouraging, right? But they were never like, oh yeah, this is good stuff.
Did they come see you play back then?
My dad did one time.
Wow.
One time.
He's probably like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I told him, am I going to be able to keep you from doing this? And he's like, no. And I go, stay way in the back. It was the Pyramid Club.
Oh, the Pyramid.
So
wow.
I was like, stay way in the back because you don't want to be up in the front.
Wow. That's crazy.
So he saw that, and that wasn't a very good show, but whatever.
But now seeing the impact and
yeah, they're so impressed. They're like, oh, my son's the coolest. That's what's so weird. That's what's so weird about a lot of this stuff. It's like getting slapped on the back by people who, really, because I didn't think you thought it was very cool back when it was happening.
Back then,
But people get a new perspective. People get years behind them and say, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? This was actually pretty cool.
And also for like both your wives and your kids, and they've never seen you on stage. Like, this has not been your life for such a long time. And I remember even like almost your wife and I even knowing this band even existed. I'm sure she heard the name before, but then seeing her man on stage, like singing these songs and talking about these songs, and the crowd going fucking bananas for you, and are so impacted by your lyrics and how you inspired so many people. It must be crazy for them to see that for the first time. Like you as not a different person, but you said you have a whole different energy when you're on stage. It's not like you're a different person, but you're I don't know. It's got to be so crazy for you to see it, and your wife to see it. Like all these years, all of a sudden my dad's on stage going off,
We just never talked about, like, it just never came up when I met her. Like, hey, I used to be in a band. Just never came up.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, it just wasn't something that I thought about to talk about.
Yeah.
Until I heard her singing like a Civ song. She was singing that 1 Minute More song.
Really?
And I was like, and I was like, hearing that song on the fucking television all the time and shit. Now she's singing it.
And you had not spoke to Civ either?
Nah.
Okay, wow.
And I was like, yo, you gotta stop singing that song. It's driving me crazy. That dude, I used to tour the country with that dude. He used to set up my drums and shit.
Was it crazy if you seen that was Civ, whatever, on TV at that point? Like,
yeah, I mean, we were like crazy kids, but there was a lot of talented motherfuckers in that little scene.
Absolutely.
And I knew they were going to do great things.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't see a future in it for me. I had like many other, I had to work. I had to get a job. I couldn't, you know how many jobs I quit just to go on tour, and then
sacrifices.
So I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. And how about you for your family? Like seeing you on stage for the first time in the past couple of years. Like
that's a great question. I'll do my best, and I'm probably going to get told later, like, no, you got it all wrong. They always knew about the band, if only from the very small revelation checks that would come every so often, right?
Yeah.
What the heck is this, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe we can go out to dinner now,
nice.
Like that kind of thing. And by the way, shout out to Jordan and Revelation, because I mean, who does that?
Yeah.
It's not, I'm telling you, it's not a lot of money, but he is religious, and he pays the guys that put this stuff out.
On point. Yeah.
So good for him,
Yeah.
Anyway, so they always knew about that. But here's the thing. Even when I would play some of, my old music or hardcore music, or, hey, check this out or whatever, guess what? I'm dad.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's not cool.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So my kids have never been like, yeah, this is really great stuff. Like they're into their shit,
Totally.
And it was the Alone in a Crowd benefit show.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, you guys should come and see this. And they'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And I think my oldest daughter, was the most shocked.
Okay.
I think she was literally like, I think there were photographs of her with her
it's amazing. Yeah.
dropped. Like, what is going on here.
And that's just alone in the crowd.
She's seen people diving off of the stacks,
Yeah.
and she's like, I can't even believe. And this is Dad.
Yeah.
Right. My youngest, I don't really know. You know what? She I think is like, you know what? You're really cool. And she wears like a side-by-side sweatshirt at her college now.
So cool, man.
And she told me a story where like she had mentioned to one of her sorority sisters that like my dad was in a band and like played a song. And so they started replaying and I don't know, I think it was an Alone in a Crowd song, but like over and over and over again until like there were like 100 sorority girls like jumping up and down on beds and stuff, which is just like
That's
such
amazing.
a weird trippy thing.
Yeah, that is trippy.
But here's the part about family that and honestly, you'd have to ask my wife what she thinks about it. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
What I do know is she's never said, no, you're not getting on a plane and going to Holland and playing a show with your little band.
Yeah.
She's never said no.
Yeah. Do you want to say something on the mic over here? You want to come over and say?
No, she's going to turn colors.
Okay, you don't have to say. But you think it's pretty amazing, right? Okay. Yeah, 16, it's crazy how young they were, it's like.
But the exciting thing is that for the show on Saturday, my son is coming, and he has never, because he was in the Navy or whatever when we played.
Okay.
So he didn't make it.
Wow.
So he's finally he's gonna be there, which is exciting for me.
That's really cool.
My youngest is gonna be like, yeah, whatever, I seen this.
And how do you feel on stage, like physically, since you are obviously older from back then? Do you feel young when you're out there singing those songs? And do you still feel kind of the same way? I don't know.
What actually getting back into that, for the little that I was doing, I realized how out of shape I was.
Wow. Okay.
And actually it inspired me to try to get into better shape. So I'm trying to take a little better care of myself.
Nice.
I really didn't do a good job of that, I don't think. And in fact, after the Alone in a Crowd show, I got super sick. Super sick. Like I missed my flight back. I was just like, it took so much out of me.
Was it COVID times back then?
No, pre-COVID. This was just like me being run down and getting a flu.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, wow, I guess I'm too old for this kind of stuff. But
because you're only young once.
Because you're only young once. Well, that part I think I've proven.
Yeah.
But
wow.
But no, I don't feel the same. It's I feel good up there, but my voice has changed.
Yeah.
You can't do the same things. I can't do the same things. I get I'll get winded. I mean, some of those songs, it's like, holy.
Yeah, I saw some clips, man. It looked really good, though. Yeah, yeah.
But the other thing too is like, I just remember being able to jump and bounce around almost like I was weightless. Like I could just go into the crowd and then back up on the stage or whatever. I think if I tried that now, I'd probably do myself some very serious bodily harm.
Yeah.
So, that part of it, I think, listen, there's a reason it's called Youth Crew, right?
Yeah. It's not called Senior Crew.
It's part of the name.
Yeah, it's true.
But I also look at people like Kevin Second. I look at John Brannon. I look at,
Keith Morse still doing it?
Yeah. I mean,
crazy.
and that's really fucking impressive.
And really inspiring.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
But I'm here for this one last show, and then I'm not gonna try that anymore.
Yeah,
so.
And you're totally fine with that, and that's it. You're not gonna miss it. You're not gonna be like,
I am.
One more. Got this offer for Europe or Japan next year.
Yeah. As exciting as going to Japan or someplace else would be. No.
Yeah.
No.
I really respect that, man.
I think I'll go to Japan if I can and like relax.
Yeah.
And maybe take in some of the sights.
Yeah. Because there's only supposed to be like 1 or 2 shows. That's pretty, to be able to just like shut it off again and go back to your life and.
Well, and and here's the other thing too. I mean, I make no. I'm a middle-aged lawyer. I'm a guy in the suit and tie world. I'm not gonna like front like I'm the cutting edge of freaking punk and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, is this important? Yeah, because we're doing it for a reason.
Yeah. I love that.
And you know what? It's like, and if people want to come and do that with us still, then I'm down. And let's do it, and let's freaking, make a dent. Like let's make our dent, right? But as far as me to keep going, it becomes almost
forced or
because we're not going to do anything new.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What am I going to sing about now? I
mean, I write about now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could, but no one would want to hear about what I would be
talk
bitching
about now. Yeah. Yeah. So some of those lyrics don't hold true for you still, think some of those songs or some of those ethics you still have in you?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. That was the thing that blew me away when I really started thinking about kind of what am I doing here, and I can agree with every single thing. It may not have been, listen, it wasn't high art, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not, these are not complicated lyrics, right?
Yeah.
But the intent behind them is real.
100%.
And it was real.
Yeah.
And I friggin' believe this shit.
Yeah.
To this day.
Yeah. I love
and
that.
in fact, the thing that I've gotten the most out of all of this and seeing my old friends again and doing this shit is realizing I've lost a lot of that along the way.
Mm-hmm.
The whole adult crash, right?
Yeah.
Like you get down to where you're fucking in the grind, you're raising your kids, you're paying your bills, you're mowing your grass, you're dealing with the shit. And you lose that kind of, I would even say you sometimes lose what's right and what's wrong because you're just too busy in the grind.
Yeah. Had you lost touch with a lot of people from that world?
Yeah, fucking completely. This is the first time I'm sitting across from Mike for the first time in what, 33 years.
Yeah,
probably.
I'm stoked to be here for that. It's awesome. First time seeing
each
other.
Well, thank you. This was a huge surprise. I had no idea he was going to be here.
I was surprised too when he was like, "Yo, we'll just stop by. This is happening."
Yeah,
like,
it's really cool.
Get the fuck out of here. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, you're just living your life. You're a lawyer. You're like in Florida. Like life's just,
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I just turned 53.
Awesome. I just turned 54 this week. Feeling good, man. I feel pretty good.
You look good.
Thank you. What about like sobriety in your life and stuff like that? Were you ever partying after that and just lived your life?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, I don't know what happened with straight edge after I kind of, wasn't really a part of the scene anymore because a lot of shit apparently developed and happened.
It got crazy.
And stuff I don't even understand.
It got militant, it got violent, it got all kinds of things.
Right. And then, and then there's revivalist. I hear revivalist stuff. I don't know from that. And
Youth Crew Revival, all that stuff.
Yeah. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what any of that.
I love that you don't. Is. I love it.
But I can say that, I don't, today I'm sitting here, I don't drink, I don't drug, and I'm very happy about that.
Nice.
I am not saying that I have claimed, I don't claim edge as they say these days. I don't claim edge now.
Yeah.
And no, I was not straight edge for the last, almost 40 years of my life.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've come kind of around again. And honestly, any of the, social drinking, other kinds of drinking, whatever. If I could have that time back now, I'd take it.
Yeah.
It's a very wasteful way of being.
Yeah.
And I look at my friend Howie, who is struggling with a condition that is no fault of his own. It's a freaking tumor in his head.
Yeah.
And what are the symptoms? Tremors, not being steady on your feet, slurred speech, hard to concentrate. And I'm thinking to myself, God, like he's describing drinking. Like that's what, like, so I would intentionally do that to myself.
Wow.
And listen, the crazy thing is I had that right when I was a kid. And then again, you get into the grind, you get into the bullshit, and you do all, you kind of forget all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can honestly say it's like, wow, I lost my way. But not to be part of anything bigger.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about me.
Yeah.
It's not being part of a scene or representing or anything like that. It's just, I'm just talking about me.
Yeah.
And, and honestly, I'm going to say this too. And I don't know if it was necessarily straight edge saved my life, but I will tell you hardcore did.
Wow.
Because
same.
What the hell, Mike, what the hell would we have done if we didn't have that? Like, I think about that a lot. Jail, and committed to an institution, you name it.
Yeah.
What the hell else was I gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
No, to have a scene that was creative, as supportive as it was. Listen, we weren't fucking perfect.
No.
Name something that is. Nothing.
Nothing.
But to have that and to have it be truly organic, meaning there wasn't like someone like dictating. It wasn't like a school, program or something like that. No one was dictating it to you. We did it ourselves.
Yeah.
Unreal. Unreal.
Yeah. Before so many people even knew about it, it was like almost a blueprint you guys have put together back then, and it wasn't like, we're going to be in bands and make money. You did it because this is what you're doing with your friends. And like you said, like, why do you kick him out? Because he was a good drummer. Like, when you start a band, you start with your friends, and then you learn how to play together, and that's the most beautiful thing about starting a band. Like, I never was a singer. Rusty was never a guitar player, but we were best friends, so we started this band, and it was more than just being musicians. It was a fucking unit, you know what I'm saying? The brotherhood.
I mean, that's how I always felt about it.
Yeah.
Like, when I was in Death Before Dishonor, I was the singer.
Yeah.
And then some whack reasons we had to kick out our drummer. And Mark Ryan was our boy. He was always hanging around with us. And I was like, yo, Mark, you sing, I'll learn how to play drums.
You're the singer. Yeah.
So it was never about, who's good at this, who's good at that. It was who was down to fucking make some noise and fucking yell some shit.
Yeah.
And
who was down.
That's what was important.
So I got a crazy thing, and you can edit this out if you want to, depending on,
Let's see how crazy it is.
Is there any Death Before Dishonor material out there?
I mean, there's a thing out there that they say that it's called like the demo, but all it is off of Don Fury's like tape deck, where Mark Ryan would be like,
is it
all right,
on,
everybody
YouTube,
be quiet.
Or
I think it's on YouTube. It's floating around.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Backfire, which is like arguably the side-by-side song, that was 100% inspired by Death Before Dishonor.
Wow.
Like Alex and I were listening to that.
Did you know that?
I didn't. I did not know that.
100%. 100%.
That's awesome.
And I used to love going to Super Touch shows because they would play some of that stuff.
Super Touch is another band that nobody really talk about so much. They're like underrated, I
don't talk about them because they kicked me out, dude.
Okay.
So.
Shout out to Mark though.
Mark says he's going to be
he's
there
coming to the show
tomorrow
tomorrow.
night.
He told me he's coming to the show. Mark.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is going to be like a high school reunion.
Yeah. Do you have any major regrets in your life?
I've had a few.
Wow. Oh, come on, Sid Vicious.
Wow.
That's one of my questions about it. It's a hard one. Some people say no. Some people say.
All right. So first, let's talk about the concept of regret. I have always hated the kind of no regrets mantra, right?
I agree.
And here's why. Because 9 times out of 10, it's a rationalization of past bad judgment, right? It's
Facts.
like I'm going to, after the fact, excuse myself for this stupid thing that I've done by saying, oh, no regrets, no regrets.
Yeah. Good point.
So I don't believe in that kind of regret, like this idea of anyway, I don't believe in that whole attitude, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I also think that most people, their regrets are not what they've done, it's what they haven't done. Like, I think those are the regrets that linger the hardest. Because, I mean, yes, do people do dumb things that they then later regret? Yes, I think we all have to a certain degree or another. But the ones that stick with you, what's that? There's a poem, and I forget who the poet is,
Okay.
but and I'm going to paraphrase. I'm sure I'm not going to get the poem right, but the saddest words are, "It might have been." And that's so when you ask me, do I have any regrets? I think about, okay, I regret that I never learned how to play a musical instrument. Now, why do I say that? Because I had the opportunity.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity. Not only was I in all these fucking bands with guys who could play instruments, and I could probably learn from them, but when I was younger, my parents scraped together money to actually send me to music lessons.
Wow.
Now, albeit it was like recorder and shit like that, and like what kid even understands why he's playing the recorder? But I had, to this day, I think I have a learning disability, but undiagnosed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't focus. I could never focus on and learn that stuff.
Yeah.
But if I looked at all of the time that I had wasted as a kid, I could have learned how to play something. That's a regret.
Okay.
Another regret I have is I never learned another language. I sat in so I went to a private school first.
Yeah.
Again, parents cobbling the funds together, and got kicked out.
Okay.
And went to Weehawken High School, a public high school of 500 kids, like very small establishment.
Was St. Anne's the one you got kicked out of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah. But so here I am. I calculated the number of classes I could fail, and I calculated the number of days I could miss and still graduate high school.
Wow.
I deliberately they had 2 tracks. They had the college prep track and the other track. And I don't know exactly what their whole point was. Like, I don't know, maybe turn out people for vocational school or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other track was supposed to achieve.
Yeah.
But I chose the other track.
Okay.
And I literally was like absent as much as I possibly could be. And I figured out the number of classes that I could fail. And one of them was Spanish. And I sat in the back. I actually went to the teacher the first day of class. She was 80 years old. And this was back in the 80s.
Wow.
So she was born in the turn of the century, and she was teaching high school kids how to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And not a thing I ever understood. But I went to her and I said, look, I am going to go sit in the back. I'm going to read magazines. I am not going to disrupt your class at all. I know I'm going to fail. Just leave me alone.
Wow.
And I went to the back of the class and I did just that until she either forgot that we had that conversation or had one of those moments of like, I'm a teacher, damn it. I'm going to get this kid to like,
yeah.
And we got into this screaming fight in
Wow.
her class. And I'm sure that every kid in that class remembers that day. Because it was like the crazy punk rock kid in the back and the 80-year-old woman are friggin' at each other. But I think back, why didn't I just fucking learn how to speak Spanish? I wish to God I could speak Spanish right now, or any other language, frankly.
Yeah.
But Spanish would be really fucking useful.
Yeah.
And guess what? For all the time I wasted, all those magazines that I was reading in the back of the class, I probably could have fucking learned it. The
Totally.
school was like half Latin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was a bunch of Cubans. I mean, I could have learned a language.
Yeah.
And I just didn't. Just because I just didn't want to put the effort in or didn't have the concept. You know, so when I look at regret, I look at where I had an opportunity and I just fucking, you know, what is it? Frivolity, you know, like I just pissed it away.
Yeah.
So those are two that come to mind.
Yeah. I love that. I love how you break that down, man. It's very
Wow.
No, it's very it's
I wish
true.
I wish I could break it down in Spanish.
I do wish I learned an instrument as well too, or learn a different language. I can relate to that too, or maybe I've gone to college or something. How about you, Mike? Any regrets?
Okay.
Come on, man.
Oh,
We probably talked about your regrets.
You know, you don't think I was ever been like, shouldn't have done that.
Oh yeah. We've already talked about your regrets too. Are you an optimist or pessimist?
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for this one.
I think I would have to say pessimist. But I've got these weird patches of hope that are almost silly.
Okay.
Okay. So like I'm usually like, yeah, should have figured that was gonna freaking happen. Like or oh yeah, we're all probably gonna die tomorrow. Like that's the kind of shit that I say.
Yeah.
But then I have like these weird, like I have a super amount of hope. Like for, you know, there's a lot of good shit in the world.
There is.
You know?
There is.
And you know, it may be rare, but people do surprise you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I
You've always been like that your whole life?
gun to my head, pessimist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So most of your life you're like that.
Yeah, but like, is it Patton Oswalt that did that kind of? I think it was like an online speech or something like that. That I guess it went viral or whatever.
Okay.
But his whole thing about like about that people are inherently good, and the proof is we haven't all eaten each other yet.
Wow.
Like we wouldn't be here anymore if we were truly these like horrible creatures.
That's true.
And I think he put optimism, you know, it was like a very good face on optimism, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
like
remember
that.
when that was.
That's a great point too, though. Also, I still have faith in humanity for sure. It's hard though. It's such a dark, crazy world, man.
Yeah. But on the day-to-day, if you're talking to me before I've had my first cup of coffee, I'm like the worst pessimist you've ever seen in your life.
Do you spend time on social media or looking at stuff or the news or politics? Or
I burned my Facebook account like
Respect.
many years ago.
Okay.
I got Instagram more to keep track of my kids when they were younger. And now I do it to spy on my former hardcore compadres. Because, of course, now I know, oh, they're playing a show.
Yeah.
Oh, they're doing this. But that is the extent of my social media.
Yeah.
I don't DM. I don't.
You're not checking messages and all that stuff. Yeah.
No.
What about some daily rituals for you?
Daily rituals. You know what? I never appreciated the value of routine.
I mentioned earlier taking walks and stuff.
Chaos ruled my frickin' life, and I would just roll out of bed and hit the grind. Oh, I've got all this shit to do, or if I didn't have something to do, I would be like, I need to frickin' just not do anything.
Yeah.
Right. Routines are really, I think, good. I think as long as you're not like a complete. You know, you can become obsessive about routines, right?
Totally.
So like you can like overdo it. It's like overdoing anything, right? But in the morning, I actually have done meditation, which
Nice.
I never thought I would ever say
Yeah.
in a million years. And there may be people who hear this and start laughing. But let me tell you,
no joke.
but let me tell you something. You have enough time to take a few minutes in, any part of your day.
Yeah.
I do it in the morning to just clear your fucking head.
Yeah.
And then part of that ritual, I do, what is it called now? It's one of the New York Times word puzzles.
Oh yeah.
My
wife does it too.
It's not the Wordle. I did Wordle for a while.
Okay.
I did Wordle for an entire year and scored myself.
Wow.
But then now I do the spelling. It's called Spelling Bee.
Okay.
And it's much quicker.
Okay.
And I do that. And then I will read the news.
Okay.
So that's kind of my morning ritual. And I try to do that before I do anything important.
How about coffee?
A lot of it. Listen, man, I'll tell you something. If I stop drinking coffee, my heart's going to stop.
Couple cups a day?
More than a couple.
Wow.
I mean, I would say that I probably have a very profound caffeine.
Does it affect your sleep?
I don't know that the caffeine affects my sleep as so much as other things.
Yeah, you're not a good sleeper?
Haven't been for a very long time.
So you sleep like 5 hours a night maybe?
If I'm lucky.
Wow.
If I'm lucky. And
it's so important too. It's just hard, man.
And I only get that deep sleep like right before the alarm goes off.
Interesting.
So
is your mind always going?
Yeah.
Did you ever have therapy before?
Yeah, it doesn't. I seem to not be good with therapy.
Okay. Okay.
I don't doubt that it could probably be helpful for a lot of people. It just hasn't been very helpful for me.
Yeah. And you read books a lot?
Well, here's the problem. I read like all the time for work.
Oh, okay.
Like, all the time.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And I'm writing all the time for work.
Yeah.
So when it's time to like relax, the last thing I want to do is read more.
Yeah.
And that's been very unfortunate because there's a lot of great books out there.
Yeah.
Like that I could read for fun, but I just don't have the strength, frankly.
And what kind of lawyer are you?
I'm a maritime lawyer.
Okay.
So I do what other lawyers do, but when it involves ships and boats and things like that.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
It can be. It can be. It can be really tedious too.
Yeah. You've been doing that for how long now?
17 years if we don't count law school.
Wow.
If we count law school, 20.
Wow. Damn, this is awesome. It's nice to have you like in this kind of time capsule, man. Both you guys.
Yeah, well, it's
really
so
crazy.
I can't thank you enough. I'm so happy to be here with Mike.
Yeah, it's really cool, man, to have you guys and just like hear your story and just everything, like, and just the impact of just these songs and the band you've been in, and this you coming back to all these years and just people loving and appreciating what you did way back as a child. It's really beautiful, man. It's powerful, man.
And you know what? And what's great is great to see people take that and then they do their own thing and then they keep it going. That's the part. It's not what I did, but what I see other people now doing that means a lot to me.
You are a part of that. Yeah, why it is keeping going. It's awesome. And people and
I'm flattered. I'm absolutely flattered.
Yeah. Any more questions for this young man, Mike?
No, I'm good, brother.
This has been really, trying to check all my notes too. Really awesome to have you and have your wife here, and you guys came straight from the airport and your long day flying, and I really, really appreciate it, man. And people are going to be psyched to hear your story, you know what I mean?
Well,
you're looking great too, man.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
I feel like we're still very young at heart, Having kids keeps me young. Having a kid.
Yeah. Well,
and stresses me out too.
Having kids is what made me all gray like this. But
You didn't get gray till later on?
No, I last what? I don't know.
Yeah.
Decade or so.
Did you ever get tattoos back then?
I don't have a single
amazing.
tattoo on my body.
That's pretty amazing.
Toby's getting tattoos removed.
I'm getting removed to get more room. You never get tattooed. That's
well, it's fun. This is a good story.
Wow, you have tattoos? Oh, you made it out of the hardcore scene unscathed.
So okay. Do you remember Brian Flagneck?
I do remember
Brian Flagneck.
Brian Flagneck.
That's a hard nickname.
Well,
He had a flag on his neck.
he had a flag tattooed on his neck,
He did.
and I think it was done by Harley.
It was done by Harley.
And it was bad.
It was. I don't know if this is true or not. This is what Harley told me.
You heard it first on this podcast. Go.
He did it backwards on purpose.
Oh my god! To look in the mirror, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
That's the story I was told.
And here's the thing. It was pretty green and pretty blotchy.
It was pretty bad.
And so Brian used to hang out at Some Records a lot.
Yeah.
And I was 16 and I was hanging out with guys like Mike who had cool tattoos, and like everyone was getting cool tattoos.
Yeah.
So of course I wanted cool tattoos. And I think Billy, who, is this freaking great artist.
Yeah.
He would take rapidograph pens and I'd say, hey, draw something on my arm or whatever. And he'd draw like some crazy design. And I think Brian saw that at Some Records one time. And I was like, oh yeah, this is just, Billy drawing shit on you. And here he is with this neck tattoo, and he starts kind of telling me, well, you better think long and hard about what you're going to do. And he said, do what you're doing, have someone put that on you and walk around with it for 3 days.
Smart.
And if you're not freaking tired of it by 3 days, then, think about getting it.
I wish somebody told me that. That's smart.
And so next thing you know, I had crucified skeletons on my forearms. I mean, Billy would just draw crazy. Anyone I could get to draw some crazy shit on me.
Yeah, you lived with it.
And you know what? Here I am walking out with these crazy things, and I'm looking and I'm like, nah.
It's not for you.
Nah. And then it just got to the point where I realized that I don't know that I was ever gonna have something that and now I feel almost unique because
you're really unique.
I mean, a tattoo is like ubiquitous.
Everybody has tattoos now. It's so true.
So it's not a stand. I'm not taking a stand against tattooing. I just never
got one. It's really cool, actually. I wish I was like totally clean canvas. Also, one of my friends wanted to thank you because he started rocking Fred Perry's because of you.
Oh, no shit. Well,
I
started rocking Fred Perry's because of other people. I mean, fuck, who else was wearing them back then? Everybody.
Yeah. Also, one thing you've been saying a lot through the podcast that you don't really say it. It's more of a capo thing. It's something from your crew, friggin'. You say friggin'. And those guys still say, but they still say friggin'. Like Capo still says it, Sammy still says it. They all say friggin'. I never really heard that only from them. I know
Purcell says frickin'.
Frickin', yeah.
Frickin'.
Yeah. What the frick, dude?
Is that a New York? Is that a New York thing? Or is just you don't want to swear?
Well, I had never had any problems swearing.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever an issue.
Yeah, it just seems maybe it is a New York thing.
I think it was just a kind of a turn of phrase, like kind of like Boston had wicked hot. What other shit did we say back? I guess that's a great question. I'd have to really think about.
But I guess friggin' is a East Coast New York kind of thing. Then yeah, friggin'. But you still say it though, and they still say it too. It trips me out.
Well, are they still saying guy?
Guy.
That
used to drive me crazy.
Oh my God.
Where did that come from?
The summer of Guy.
Yeah. What the frick, Guy?
That was
Guy. It was one of those.
That's a youth crew thing or something.
That was a Purcell thing.
Purcell and Richie.
Guy.
But what was so funny is like it became a word you could have an entire sentence of just Guy in different intonations. Guy.
I remember that word back then.
Yeah, so...
Did you learn a lot about your husband today? More things? How'd you guys meet, real quick?
We met on a ship.
Nice.
That was under construction in Italy.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome.
So...
how long have you been together now?
Oh, God, I'm
going
to answer that right. You're going to get me in trouble.
You better answer that shit right in the podcast.
We're 23 years.
23 years. Married 23.
Married 23.
That's incredible. I'll be married 28 years this year.
Yeah, wow.
Very lucky, man. Very lucky to have somebody support their all the wild shit we do and travel and play music and do all this stuff. Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, man. It's really great to meet you.
Thank you for
having
having
my kitchen and Mike being here too. And
yeah. absolutely stellar. And thank you so much. And I'm so sorry I was late.
It's all good. I'm sure you need some freaking food and freaking food.
You did it. Guy.
Yeah, you need some freaking food and some sleep right now. Freaking food and sleep. Yeah. Anything else, Mike, you want to say on here? No.
No, I'm good.
All good in here.
It's great seeing you, brother.
You
This
too,
is
man.
this is
Been a
awesome.
minute.
Like
You too.
the reunion on the my podcast is very. I'm very like grateful for this. Yeah. All right, man.
Absolutely fantastic.
Thanks everybody listening, and don't hit him up on social media because he's not going to respond to you. And there's only one more show, and if you're not there, you missed it. And just listen to his music. Thanks, everybody. Perfect. I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos, I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swipe the credit card. Don't really tell me much. Didn't give me much details or anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm that looks like a big black blob is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting. I'm so honored to announce that One Life, One Chance podcast is now with Removery. Call 866-934-4570 or go to removery.com. Use TobyH20 and get $100 off your first session. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations. US, Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art Pico-Way laser technology. Cryotechnology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting for me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, we talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Definitely check out One Life, One Chance podcast, episode 281. I have Carmen Brody, Mike McTurnan, and Dustin Ortle from Removery. And this is over a 2-hour conversation. People had submitted questions. It's an incredible conversation breaking down the do's, the don'ts, the fears, process, the results, everything you could imagine about getting a tattoo removed. It's all in this podcast. It's an incredible episode. I appreciate them all coming out for it. So check that out if you want to learn more about Removery and what it's like to get a tattoo removed. Once again, go to removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out.